Well, NFL executives around the league are very annoyed with how good the Eagles did and how much praise Howie Roseman has gotten post-draft. This whole idea of Jonathan Gannon throwing the Super Bowl, all the tampering issues, we're going to break that down for you as well. And one draft pick who makes a lot of sense in terms of starting soon. I'm Thomas Mott. This is the Thomas Mott Show. What's up, guys? Thomas Mott here. Welcome to the Thomas Mott Show on a Monday. Hopefully you are rested and recovered from a very fun draft weekend. Thumbs up again. Looking back at that Eagles draft class, absolutely incredible. And it leads me into our first story of the day, a tweet here from Dov Kleiman. This is hilarious. This is all over Twitter right now. Quote, some NFL executives around the league are getting annoyed with how much praise Eagles Howie Roseman has been receiving during the draft per Peter Schrager, end quote. Okay, so this is the classic, if you can't win, you might as well be jealous of the winner right now, and that seems to be the case for most NFL GMs. It's just hilarious to me that people are upset with how much praise Howie Roseman is getting, despite the fact that Howie Roseman basically turned Carson Wentz into the current Eagles' entire system with, all those trades back in the day to, get these first-round draft picks, which became A.J. Brown, which became Jordan Davis, which became Jalen Carter, which added a second first-round draft pick and Nolan Smith. I mean, I get it. He's getting a ton of praise right now, but isn't it rightfully so? Don't you wish your football team was able to do what the Eagles were able to do over the weekend? What's crazy, too, is, of course, the trade for DeAndre Swift, adding in a running back, where all the Eagles running backs combined make less than what the Carolina Panthers have guaranteed Miles Sanders in his first year in Carolina. It's all these things. Jalen Hurts' contract, we talked about that for a second. I would be jealous too. It's so funny how annoyed they are. I mean, listen, there's some other good drafts. The Texans thought they had a pretty good draft. There are plenty of teams. The Seattle Seahawks had a pretty good draft. But the idea that you need to be annoyed because Howie Roseman is getting a lot of praise is ridiculous. He deserves all the praise in the world for what he's built in Philadelphia and what he's continuing to build so far going into this season. And just quickly here, look at this tweet. This is hilarious. On the Road to Victory has this. This is the Eagles' current estimated calorie cap space post-draft. So they went into the draft with $17.9 million. You got to pay your draft people about $4.4. Your estimated cap after this entire offseason, where they signed Jalen Hurts to be the highest paid player in NFL history until Lamar, they still have $13.5 million in free cap space. I mean, come on. Are you not jealous of that? Are you allowed to be a little bit jealous and envious what the Eagles were able to do? Unbelievable. You guys think that it's too much praise for Howie Roseman? Was there anything you didn't like that he did this offseason? I think he did a really incredible job, and it's so funny to hear about NFL GMs and NFL executives being upset that their executive is not Howie Roseman. Okay, let's move over here to the Jonathan Gannon situation. This was glossed over by, I'll argue, myself and a lot of Eagle people this weekend because of the draft, right? This happened during the draft. At least the news dropped of the Jonathan Gannon tampering situation when that trade was announced between the Cardinals and the Eagles, but we need to dive a little bit deeper into what exactly went down. Crossing Broad went ahead and quoted the original article, which I believe was from the Philadelphia Inquirer, and this is where we're at. Quote, maybe C.J. Gardner-Johnson was right. Maybe Jonathan Gannon wasn't focused on the Eagles during Super Bowl week. 2 months ago, they wished him good luck. Today, they wish him good riddance. They are, in a word, furious. Maybe a pending job offer to the coach the Arizona Cardinals, illegally negotiated with the Super Bowl looming, distracted Gannon to the degree that his defense gave up 24 second-half points to a one-legged quarterback and a coach with a history of horrible halftime adjustments. Maybe that's why the two-star cornerbacks each give up a touchdown on the same type of play in the second half. Maybe that's why the Birds' second-rate defense blew a 10-point lead and didn't get a stop after intermission. Maybe that's why Gannon, according to NFL sources, was giddy at an otherwise morose after-party at the team hotel in Phoenix. Maybe that's why in a few short weeks, Gannon has gone from the NFL's offseason golden boy to NFL's no-socks laughing stock, end quote. And that breaks down the whole entire situation, which of course is the fact that, of course, the Eagles defense struggled mightily in the Super Bowl. Gannon was already talking, that's the tampering part of the Arizona Cardinals pre-Super Bowl, really that week before, and you go through everything that happened in the second half and you wonder how much of what was his heart in it. Now, I'll push back on this a little bit here, and I think there's a really interesting tweet from Howard Eskin this morning pushing back on it as well, but you can at least make the argument that talking to the Cardinals before the Super Bowl is a bad look. I mean, take away what happened in the second half, because of course players have an implication on that. Take away this idea of him being giddy at the after party, which I'm going to show you I don't think is actually true, but he at least should not have been talking to the Cardinals, and they paid the price by giving the Eagles a better third-round draft pick, as we have talked about. Now, what I think is interesting is the counter-argument to this. Howard Eskin, no surprise, always has a counter-argument to a lot of things, but he makes an interesting point here. Quote, I know it's been easy to pile on XDC Jonathan Gannon, but in Sunday's Philly Inquirer story, it was loaded with fiction. I should first say I'm not happy that Gannon made improper contact with the Arizona Cardinals. Same here. Not happy with some of his comments in Arizona. But in story, to say he was distracted in Super Bowl is ridiculous. What about poor punt and poor coverage on return that put ball on 5-yard line? Was not fault of Gannon's defensive calls. Slay losing side-eye wide receiver that led to TD, not fault of DC. The spin of his defense giving up 24 second-half points is beyond misleading just to create Ryder's agenda. To write Eagles were furious with his contact, upset, yes. Furious is a total overstatement. Here's biggest fiction. Gannon was giddy at post-game Super Bowl party at hotel. Total fiction. I was there. Quoted NFL sources many times like he got them at dollar store. Criticize many times if you want. That's our job, but be balanced and fair without your own agenda. So Howard pushes back here and says, the 24 second-half points weren't entirely Gannon's fault. I think back to the Kadarius Toney punt return. Sure, okay. You can argue that, although it does seem like a couple of those motion plays, the defense wasn't really ready for it, but, whatever. So, you can't just stop every single defensive play. But the interesting part here is the idea that Gannon was giddy at the post-game Super Bowl party, which sounds really bad. Like, if you were giddy after your defense just got smashed in the second half and lost a Super Bowl, that would be a bad look. But Eskin is saying he was there, and it's a situation where it never happened. So it's a bunch of he said, she said, but this whole idea that Gannon was trying to purposely lose for the Eagles, I think, is overblown and ridiculous. Even if the Eagles win, I mean, Gannon still becomes the Cardinals head coach. I mean, either way, he would have probably got more offers had they won, and he would have been a Super Bowl winning defensive coordinator, which goes great on any resume and also is a really big achievement. Like, wouldn't you want to do that? So I think it's a little bit overblown. I think the tampering is the real problem here. The fact that Gannon was making inappropriate contact, although if Arizona called first, are you not going to answer the phone? I mean, it goes back and forth. Give me your thoughts on the Gannon situation. I know it's all in the past now because the Eagles use their third-round draft pick, and they love, of course, Sidney Brown, and so on and so forth, but it's a very interesting story, and I want to hear what you guys have to think about that. Okay, final very quick story here. I do want to mention the idea of Tyler Steen playing guard. There was a post-draft press conference by Nick Sirianni and some of the front office people, I think Howie Roseman as well, that are looking at moving him officially to guard. They haven't said that officially, but here's what Howie Roseman said after the draft pick of the Alabama tackle. Quote, "Yeah, that was really valuable. You get to see him in SEC playing tackle and him playing left tackle for the University of Alabama. Obviously, it's a high-profile position. There have been a lot of NFL players that played that position. You wanted to play tackle, he's had success there. Or you watch him play tackle, he's had success there. Then he moved to the Senior Bowl. He played guard. You could see him moving people off the ball. You could see his athleticism in space. 6'6", 320-pound guy who started in the SEC, smart guy, comes from a great family. Obviously, Jeff Stoutland's a big part of our process as well. He's really excited to get his hands on him. And there's an NBC Sports article where this comes from. Talking about the idea that Steen will officially be moved to the guard spot during training camp. Now, we'll wait for that official word because, it's a he said, she said, which is the entire theme of today's show. But it does seem like the Juergens starting at right guard that I've been preaching this entire offseason might not be 100% accurate, as there will be an open competition in training camp. For all the commenters who've called me out on that, you're probably right. It's probably going to be an open competition, although I think Juergens can possibly still win that, and I think Steen would be a very, very good backup tackle to have in case of, worst case scenario for Tillard, for Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson. So we shall see. Okay, it's going to be a very, very interesting next couple of days. If the Eagles want to make any more moves, obviously we're going to cover it, and we're going to get into full offseason swing. It's going to be a lot of fun, even post-draft, with some position breakdowns and some position battles and grades and stuff like that. It's going to be very, very fun, so be sure to stay tuned and subscribe. I appreciate all the views, all the subscribers over the past 3 days or the past weekend. It was an incredible NFL draft. The numbers were great, and I cannot wait to keep covering Philadelphia and the rest of the National Football League for you guys. I'm Thomas Mott. This has been the Thomas Mott Show.